Shadow ops. Robbing government labs. Contract kills.
Yeah, so?
So, someone wants us gone.
What if I told you one of the most hard-hitting action scenes in the MCU in the last few years wasn't powered by a glowing gauntlet or a billion-dollar CGI budget, just a motorcycle and a bunch of anti-heroes? Welcome to Heroescope. Today, we're diving into something that feels like a long overdue revelation in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With all the explosions, multiversal chaos, and digital mayhem we've seen in recent years, the latest Marvel project just did something bold. It stripped everything down. No cosmic sky beams, no glowing orbs of infinite power, just fists, pain, and purpose. Of course, we're talking about the Thunderbolts. So what is it exactly that makes the action in the Thunderbolts so good? Yet the action in most recent MCU movies has felt so underwhelming. It's simple, the Thunderbolts action is less advanced than in the rest of the MCU movies. Let me explain. Ask any MCU fan about what went wrong in Phase 5, and you can be sure that CGI will be in everyone's top 3 complaints. Once, Marvel ruled the CGI world with some of the best CGI to date, like Iron Man or all of the Avengers movies, especially Infinity War and Endgame. However, in recent years, the CGI has taken a massive plummet, and not only in the MCU, but in all superhero movies. Just take a look at Quantumania, The Flash, She-Hulk. So, you might think, the budgets must be lower. The truth is, they aren't at all. But what does this have to do with the Thunderbolts? Well, everything actually. The Thunderbolts reminds us why action and superhero stories matters. And more importantly, why so many recent ones have felt hollow. It's not just about how Thunderbolts looks, it's about how it feels. You sit down to watch a superhero flick, and within minutes, you're already tuning out. A giant purple sky monster is blowing up a city. The world is ending for the 15th time this year, and yet, nothing hits, literally or emotionally. That's because much of what we're seeing isn't built for impact, it's built for spectacle. And while there's nothing wrong with a little visual grandeur, when everything is CGI, nothing feels grounded. The audience subconsciously knows when what they're watching isn't real. A weightless, overly rendered punch might look cool in theory, but it doesn't connect, not with the characters, and definitely not with the audience. Now think back to some of the most iconic fight scenes in superhero cinema. Cap and Bucky on the streets in The Winter Soldier, Batman taking down thugs in a dim warehouse in Batman v Superman, Logan slicing through enemies in a forest at sunrise. What do these have in common? They are grounded, practical, and they rely on stunt choreography, real locations, and the emotional weight behind every move. This is where Thunderbolts comes in and completely changes the tone of the current MCU. Instead of trying to outdo the scale of past blockbusters, the filmmakers chose to focus on what made earlier superhero movies memorable. Fights that hurt, fights that matter. Let's take a look at one of the most epic scenes in the entire movie, the Bucky motorcycle chase sequence. What is it about this scene that made it so cool, where most of the recent MCU fights have felt extremely uninspired? It's simple, this wasn't shot in a studio. It wasn't designed to dazzle with light shows and particle effects. It was filmed over 3 grueling weeks in the rugged landscapes of Utah with real bikes, real stuntmen, and real danger. There's even a nose wheelie in the sequence that wasn't even in the original script. It was such an organic, pulse-pounding moment during the shoot that they kept it. That decision reflects the kind of creative spontaneity you only get when you're working with real people and real machines, not just pixels on a screen. Director Jake Schreier understood that audiences are ready for a shift. People have grown tired of watching superheroes perform magic tricks with glowing hands while floating above indistinguishable CGI wastelands. Schreier chose to anchor the Thunderbolts in something more human, and the result is a film that reminds us just how intense, how intimate, and how meaningful superhero action can be when it's handled with restraint and care. But it's not just the visuals. The emotional core of this movie runs deep, and that's where the action gets its real power. Each member of the Thunderbolts isn't just physically bruised. They're psychologically battered, and they're not fighting only to save the universe. They're fighting for something far more relatable: redemption. Even the way the camera moves during these sequences supports the grounded feel. There's no swooping drone shots flying over digital armies. The cinematography keeps us close, sometimes uncomfortably close, to the action. We see the sweat, we see the panic, we see the hesitation in a character's eyes before they strike. That's what makes it impactful. Now let's address the elephant in the room. CGI doesn't necessarily have to be the enemy. Used correctly, it can enhance a story beautifully. And Thunderbolts doesn't abandon it completely. It uses it sparingly, and only when it supports the emotional or narrative core of the scene. Ghost phasing abilities, for instance, are depicted with subtle visual flair that doesn't take over the frame. The CGI is there to underline the action, not overshadow it. And it is exactly this approach that creates a balance. The special effects add depth and texture, rather than transforming the film into a high-budget cartoon. When CGI is used to elevate real stunts, rather than replace them, the audience feels more immersed. They believe in what they're seeing. They connect. And something else that makes Thunderbolts stand out, the characters aren't perfect. They hesitate. They make mistakes. They get tired. Unlike some of the overpowered figures we've seen in recent years, these characters feel vulnerable, and that vulnerability translates into action sequences that feel more immediate and more meaningful. And this isn't just a fluke, it's a statement. It tells us that audiences are ready for something different, that we don't need to see big CGI battles as the movie finale every time, and that sometimes the biggest battles are the ones happening inside the minds of our heroes. Thunderbolts is not trying to be the next Avengers Endgame. It's not trying to give us the new biggest CGI fight. It's trying to tell a story about broken people finding their way forward, and that, in itself, feels like a revolution in today's superhero landscape. The MCU has always been at its best when it lets its characters breathe, when it allows them to grow, to stumble, and to reflect. And the Thunderbolts understands that. It knows that the most powerful moment in a superhero movie isn't the explosion, it's the decision to stand back up after being knocked down. So, is the action in Thunderbolts the future of superhero cinema? It just might be, because as the genre moves forward, audiences are demanding more than just visual noise. They want depth, they want consequences, they want stories that don't just entertain, but resonate. And the Thunderbolts shows that less can truly be more. That a grounded punch can hit harder than a laser beam. And that maybe, just maybe, superhero movies are ready to grow up. What do you think? Are you ready for more grit and less glitter in your superhero stories? Did Thunderbolts land the hits for you? Or do you still prefer your heroes soaring through digital galaxies? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Heroscope. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.